Okay, so good afternoon to you and welcome to Empower Hour. This is an initiative that I have decided to launch, and the main objective of this initiative is to help women who are in business and who may be finding it rather daunting to attract the high-ticket clients. We know that we are going through a very difficult time, and we know that there are many women that have got distressed businesses. These women who have spent their livelihoods in building up and securing a business. But unfortunately, unprecedented times has suddenly landed upon many of us. And our intention is, and my intention is, to give you access to some of the leaders of business in South Africa and globally as well. They have walked the walk of an entrepreneur. They've got the experience, they've got the expertise, they've got the scars. Because there are some moments that are really great, and then there are other moments that may not be that great. But the ultimate goal is to keep your eye on the goal and to consistently be making sure that you are on the path towards that goal. And tonight, I am very, very blessed to have with us a wonderful woman, a woman of integrity, a professional woman. I met her a number of years ago. She had just taken on the position as chairman of Sizwe in Saluba Gobodo, and she has built up a reputation as a leader in business. So it is my pleasure to introduce you to Nonku Gobodo. Now, Nonku, we go back quite a way, don't we?
Yes, Charlotte. Good evening to everyone. We come a long way, Charlotte. I've watched you start this organization, and it's just amazing what we've done with it. It's really exciting.
Thank you, Nonku. Yes, you were there in 2015 when I actually started the rebranding and really started to be serious about the empowerment of women, and you stood on stage and you addressed an audience at Constitution Hill, and there were quite a number of people there who were obviously there to support me, but you have always been a great support, and I really want to thank you for that. So Nonku, you've had years of experience. You're an entrepreneur at heart, and I guess it's something that one is either born with, or it's something that your parents are the example of. But if you could tell us a little bit about yourself as a young girl growing up, and that brought you into where you are today. So I think a little bit about your background as a girl and as a young woman aspiring to be a success. Where did it all start?
Yes. Well, I was blessed to be, born into this family, which had two very strong parents. Both my mother and father were very strong personalities. And so I was socialized in that kind of environment. Just watching them build their lives, in apartheid South Africa, working very hard they became a role model to me. I remember when I was a little girl, my father was a teacher and my mother was a nurse, but they both ran businesses, part-time. My father was running a brick making business. My mother was running a sewing business. So she had a little shop where she had ladies sewing and all of that. So you can imagine when you're growing up, you're seeing trucks come and go, you visit the brick making business or the shop in town of my mother. And to you, that's how life is supposed to be. You work very hard, you take advantage of every opportunity. And as time progressed, my parents went into business full time. They having, Transkei, the former Transkei at the time was actually quite good for Black people because there were many business opportunities. So they took advantage of those business opportunities as white people were leaving Transkei at the time. And so they went into now shops. There were those trading stations where that were being left by white people and being taken over by the Transkei Development Corporation. And so my father bought one of those shops, and they progressed into other businesses as well. So I lived in a world where I was exposed to business very early. And I remember that my mother, when they were running the shops, used to, at, how old was I? 14, used to take a holiday when I'm on holiday and at home, and she would leave me to run the shop. And you wonder later, I mean, how could she have entrusted a shop to a 14-year-old? But there must be something that she saw. So I'm really grateful for that kind of exposure that exposed me to business very early. And just being raised by my parents and growing up in Umtata, where there were successful Black people who were professionals, others in business, really shaped who I became later in life. And I'm really grateful for that kind of background. So it was easy to make the kinds of decisions that I made to, first of all, get an education. It was out of, my father was running a panel beating shop when I first got exposed to the chartered accountancy profession, because I didn't know, like most young people, I think I didn't know what I wanted to be. My parents were saying I should be a doctor. I was toying with this idea. But deep down, I knew that I was no doctor. So I felt at home in this panel building shop where I was working. I had taken a gap year after matric, working as a bookkeeper. I loved accounting. I was exposed to auditing, and suddenly I had a vision for my life. I knew what I wanted to be.
So from an early age, you were already making sure that the money that was in the till at your mother's shop was balancing. So that's where you started your early experience in the financial sector. So,
exactly. Exactly.
And when did your personal pursuit for business actually begin? When did you know, I'm now ready to start my own business? How did that unfold?
So when I was doing articles, I had this vision of one day I'm going to have my own accounting firm. And again, it's understandable why I would have visions like that, because there was a firm of chartered accountants being run by Professor Nonku in my hometown. So it was easy to have those dreams that I will also have my own accounting firm. So when I was doing articles, I was very focused in terms of making sure that I get proper training so that one day I would be able to run my own shop. So I never joined the people who were complaining about, how we're being discriminated against as Black people. I just made sure that I opened my own opportunities to get the training that I needed to have my own practice one day. But of course, you can't just go into business after a few years of articles. I did make sure that I get exposure after articles. I worked for the Transkei Development Corporation as a chief financial officer, because you need broad experience before you can embark in business. And the other most important thing which people miss, you may have a passion for a certain type of business, but young people jump into going into business because they're following their passion. And they don't understand that, first of all, you do need to build the kind of experience that you need for you to run a business. Secondly, you have to build a network around yourself, because business is all about relationships. If you don't have relationships in the market, you're going to struggle, So just working for a while gives you that opportunity to have more understanding around how business works. Because going into business is tough. It's not for everyone. So you don't want to take an unconsidered decision of going into business, and then when you face challenges, you can't handle the challenges because you had these dreams that you are going to go into this business and make lots of money. Before you make lots of money, it takes a lot of hard work. So being prepared before you step out is very key.
I agree with you there, Nonku, and what you are saying is so true about many people follow a passion, but is it really, is there a market for what it is that you want to do? Because you've got to do your market research, you've got to be sure that there is a market for it. Is it the right time? And do you agree that that is the potential for failure, is when you don't fully understand the economics of business, and that it's just driven by a passion? Because you made sure that you had that financial skill as well. Do you find in your experience that a lot of businesses struggle because there is financial illiteracy?
Yes, definitely, because not everyone is a chartered accountant. I was blessed to have that kind of training by the time I went into business, having been exposed in seeing challenges that businesses go through. But the average person doesn't have that background. You may not even have a financial background of any sort. That is why that it is important to make sure that you do your homework before going into business, in terms of, first of all, is this service needed in the market? Is there a market for it? It doesn't have to be too sophisticated a market research unless you are planning to start something big. But it is very important that you do some research in terms of just testing the market, also that the service is needed in the market, there is a market for it. And because remember, even yourself, when you go into a shop, you go into a shop to buy the things that you need. So corporates will buy the services that they need. Mm-hmm. And they will buy those services from service providers who give them the best service, who they know that they are sustainable, in the sense that you can't start a certain line and then all of a sudden the person goes into trouble, and then you don't have that product or whatever anymore. So it is important that the other person who's going to buy your services needs to have confidence in your business. Mm-hmm. So if you don't do that homework properly, you are going to find that people are not going to have confidence to buy your services, right? And as I said, relationships are very important. I mean, it depends on what kind of business you want to go into. Some businesses need deeper market research. For instance, if you're going to go into a retail business, you really need to understand the market around the products that you'll be selling. But if you are offering services, for instance, then the people who are going to be buying those services, they need to have confidence in you. That's where relationships are really important in that case. Because even to open the door, you need to have relationships. Because you're not even going to get an appointment, because you can imagine they are flooded with all sorts of requests. So they ignore those requests. But when you have relationships, then that opens the door at least. But even after relationships, you still have to demonstrate that you are a reliable service provider that they can take seriously, that will be able to start the job and finish it, according to the specifications that you've agreed with them. So I can say that at the end of the day, you have to manage your own cash flows in the business, because You can imagine, even as a human being, you have to manage your cash flow, how you use your salary and budget and all of that. It is even more so for a business, because if you don't manage your cash flows, you're going to go under very quickly. So when the business is new, especially, you need to allow it to grow. You know, don't try to do too many things and come up with all sorts of sophisticated things that the business doesn't need at that moment. Allow yourself to grow with the business. As the business goes getting more complex, then draw in the kind of resources that you need to manage the business. Because if you don't, again, if your business is growing too fast and you are not attending to the management of the business, the financial management of the business, managing your people and everything else within the business, even if you had a market, you can still fail because we are not attending to the management of the business. So all of these things are very important, and this is where people fail. Sometimes it's not because there are no opportunities. Sometimes it's because of mismanagement of the business itself.
Mm. Yeah, and that's unfortunately the reality of it, is that a lot of entrepreneurs do unfortunately start to find difficulty in about the third or the fourth, between the third and the fifth year of trading, because that's when sometimes their financial resources do not meet the demand. And then they start to struggle, and then they start to have cash flow problems, and that's when things start to unravel. Now, what advice would you give anyone, especially in today's climate and market? What is the advice you would give somebody who is considering starting a business? And what are the pitfalls that you experienced? Because the idea of this program is obviously to help women to fast track and to basically help them to drive around the pothole and not through the pothole. So that is my intention with this program, Nonku, is to help women to hear what is possibly down the road and what they should look out for. So could you possibly give us a little bit of advice around that?
Yes, I mean, I suppose the most important thing is the business concept itself. You have to spend time around the business concept itself. And don't be afraid to come up with something new that has not been seen before. Because, I mean, we are creative people, we may come up with creative ideas. We like to copy what the other person has done instead of coming up with our own original ideas. So it is okay to come up with a new idea. But most people will go into business because they've had exposure in that sector. You'll go into the oil industry because you worked into the oil industry. You'll go into financial services because you worked in financial services and you understand that industry and you've developed relationships within that industry. But you can come up with, out of your exposure. I mean, one of those impressive people for me is Adrian Gore of Discovery. He worked in the financial services industry for a long time before he came up with new products within that industry that separated him from the rest. So we are able to come up with creative ideas. And sometimes that's why when you go into business, you need perseverance as well. Because when you come up with something new, people are not going to understand it from day one. They're going to be suspicious of something new because we've always done this way. That's why you need to have confidence around your business concept. So spending time on the business concept is critical, because doors will close because people don't understand your concept. But I always believe that, the right door will open for you at the right time if you persevere. That's why perseverance for me, when you go into business, is key. because we face many challenges when you go into business. So, and also understand that things do not happen overnight. You're not going to grow into a big giant overnight. You know, whenever I tell people that it took 30 years before there was a season Gobodo, but on the way, when I started, it was myself and the PA, when I started my accounting practice. And it grew in 18 months to 2 partners and 30 staff and 2 offices. So everything in the world is about momentum. You know, there's no tree that grows overnight into a big tree, because if it grows very fast, what's going to happen is that you're going to fail if you grow too fast. So people must have patience to understand that it is staying the course that is most important, because opportunities for growth are around the corner as we are about to give up. And so it grew then from there, after 4 years, to 10 partners and 200 staff and 4 offices. So what I'm trying to say is that starting a business is a journey. You don't want to be the kinds that you're talking about, that in 5 years we are going down because you've not been doing proper planning on the way as the business has been growing. Because you have to attract the right kinds of people around yourself as the business is growing. But what I've found is that opportunities will open up for growth if you are patient as you go around. And so for me is, if you've got a compelling product that you are offering or service that you are offering, the chances of success are good. But if you are offering something that is not needed in the market because we've not done your market research properly, then, I mean, of course, you are going to fail. But again, we should not be shy of coming up with new ideas. I suppose most of the global business that we have around, they were started by people who had new ideas, innovative ideas that had never been seen. But when we are confident in the idea that we've come up with, so you'll find that opportunities will open for you. There's just this one person who'll open the door for you, and you can grow from there. Business is exciting. It has many opportunities, but entrepreneurs have this natural nerve to persevere on the way. And you must also not be shy to come together with others, you know, because we all complement one another, and someone will come with another idea. When you put together the ideas, something concrete may come up. So, but it is very important to make sure that you choose those people very well, because most people fail because they choose the wrong partners to go into business with. It must be people that you trust. It must be people who have common values with you. You know, don't go into business with people who don't have shared values with, because there'll always be a clash of values in that business. But most importantly, don't try to attract people who are like you. You know, you must attract those people who are going to add something more to you. But we all just want to surround ourselves with people who are like us, and then we've got 2 of the same thing, and that doesn't help at all, because we don't want to be challenged. We don't want our ideas to be challenged. We started this business, we know it all, but life doesn't work like that. You know, we need other people around us who can support us in our journey. Some people may not have the courage to start the business, but they have something to contribute to the growth of the business and creating new ideas around your concept.
So concept is key, as you say, a business concept. Now, you know, ordinarily, when somebody wants to start a business, they get told, for instance, if you want to go and get a loan at a bank, the first thing they ask for is your business plan. And I've heard from several knowledgeable people that a business plan is not necessarily the right order in which to do things, but rather a business strategy. What is your opinion about that? Is the strategy more important? Because there is a difference.
I mean, obviously, everything starts with a vision. You have a vision to start a business, and the business concept will be around that vision. But for you to execute and actualize that vision, you need a strategy. For me, the strategy is before the plan. The plan actually develops out of the strategy. Mm-hmm. So the strategy is the one that will drive everything, you know, around the plan. And unfortunately, most banks, they have their own systems and processes that they need, I suppose, to make sure that they offer loans to secure people. But sometimes they don't appreciate this drive behind the entrepreneur. Mm. They may even kill your idea because they're trying to put you in a box that that your business may not fit into that box. So, but we have to do business plans because they're not going to give you any money without that business plan. And I always say that the business plan may be structured around what the banks want, but at the end of the day, when you get back to your business, you need to have a clear vision. You need of where you want to take this business, and you need to have a clear strategy that is driving that vision. And you need to have your own plans that talk to your business. You know, I'm not saying that we should not take what the banks are saying seriously, because they've seen a lot. They've seen where businesses have failed and all of that. They're experiencing that, but they can be vision killers as well. Mm-hmm. And they may not appreciate fully the kind of opportunities that your business has in the market. They will only come and celebrate with you when you're successful, unfortunately, and then they're willing to give you lots of money. So you have to carry the burden of your own business yourself. I remember when we established Seasons all over Gobodo after the merger. Why we had merged is because we're tired of being told that we're small, we don't have capacity to do bigger projects. So we said, okay, let's answer this question of the bigger projects. And so we came together. So when we went back to our stakeholders to say, we now have a sizable business, we have the capacity, and they were telling us that, no, we raise funds from overseas. There is no one, these state-owned corporations, for instance, there's no one who is going to give us money when our auditors are sitting in Gobodo. But we're not deterred. We persevered with our vision. We continued to knock on those doors, because when you are confident about your business concept, when you are confident about what you want to do, you are not deterred. And eventually you begin to soften their resolve. You know, you find that the same people who are shutting the doors for you, they are willing now to open the door for you. And we found that all those lies about how international banks and all of that would not, and international investors would not give money because of a black audit firm, were just not true. Because when we won Transnet, our first project was capital raising. And when they were on a call with international banks and all of that, someone asked, who are the auditors? And someone answered, Seasons all over Gobodo. And they said, who? And that was it. I mean, this is Africa. Who do you expect the auditors to be? And so we proved that, you know, you can't allow what people say about you and about your business be the final word on the matter. That's why you need to be sure about your own business concept, because if you persevere around it, you will break the stereotypes or those who do not believe in a new concept that you've come up with. So those are the lessons that I've learned, because you will face challenges as you go into business.
No, absolutely, Nonku. That goes without saying that one will always have challenges, and there will be many doors that will be closing on you before the first one opens. But persevering and having the tenacity to continue is obviously key. Now, the current circumstances we find ourselves in, and with so many, and we obviously are specializing in the empowerment and support of women in business, collaboration, and I keep hearing you say that when you're talking now, and it really is like you're singing my tune, and I'm so happy to hear it, and it's like music to my ears, because you're talking about collaboration is so necessary. And even as a firm that was relatively well established already, as yours was, you still found the need to collaborate and partner with another company. And that is the message of hope that I want to, and together with yourself, want to send out to women in business, and especially those that are finding themselves in a distress situation now, that collaboration is now even more important than ever before. Do you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have to collaborate in terms of, as I'm saying, the partners that you bring into your business, or even the employees that you bring into your business, because it's not just your ideas. It's out of the collaboration with others that bigger things will come. But there's a time in the business where the only way to really expand is to, again, collaborate at an institutional level, where you join forces with two firms. Of course, we know that mergers fail. So when you put together two businesses that were run differently by different people with different ways of working, it's a high risk, because it might just not work. But again, I mean, when we merged, we had heard all the stories about how mergers failed, but we're determined to succeed. When you are determined to succeed, you work through those challenges that you meet. It's like any other relationship. I mean, when you first get married, you fight like cats and dogs because you want things done this way, and your husband wants things done that way. But after a while, you find that common ground where you can accommodate everybody. So let's not sugarcoat collaboration and say it is easy. It is not easy, because as human beings, we are all different. So even institutions or companies, they have got their own corporate identity, their own culture, and all of that. And you've got to take those things into account when you collaborate. Again, I'm going to go back to choosing a partner. For you to succeed in the relationship, the first thing is to choose a partner who is right for you, who you connect with, you've got a common interest together and all of that. So don't go and try and collaborate with everyone without doing that test of, are they the right partner? Mm-hmm. Even in collaboration, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a merger. It may be in doing things jointly, marketing jointly, or doing offering a service jointly, collaborating in terms of, I'm strong in this area, you are strong in that area. If we come together and pitch for that job, we'll be able to get it, because together we're stronger than when we stand alone. But even there, you need to choose the partner carefully, because it has to be someone you can work with. Even there, doesn't mean that there will not be challenges. But when you do the right thing upfront, then you can overcome the challenges that will meet as you work together and collaborate together. So everything in life, when you make decisions, you cannot be careless about the kinds of decisions you make around your business. or who you collaborate with or who you partner with and all of that. Those things are important because that's where failure is. Well, we can't romanticize business. I always say, you know, business is business. People in business are tough and people in business are selfish. They think of their own interest and they will not hesitate to step on you to go further. I mean, we've had situations where even now as Nguleko Leadership Consulting, we will come together to collaborate with someone or on a project. The next thing, they've copied your things, they have new services that they never had before, they've copied your things and all of that. And those things happen, you know, when you choose the wrong people. So we really cannot be careless. I'm not saying we all make mistakes, but we learn from them. But it is important to just not make decisions out of desperation because, you know, I have to get through this door, because there are consequences if you don't make the right decisions and choices.
No, it's what you're saying is so true. It's the choices that you make, and just to do that little bit of, you know, almost research about the people before you step into that relationship. Now, the one thing that we obviously want to help women in business to do, and that is how do we attract the high ticket clients? And I think this is a subject that you would probably be very, you've got a lot of experience in that as well, because you're just talking about Transnet, and I know the bigger clients that you got as after you had merged your business. But how does one actually acquire these big ticket clients? What is needed for any business, and especially women in business, to understand the full concept of acquiring the big ticket items? What is your advice on that?
I mean, the first thing before you can attract them is around the product or service. It might be something that they need. I mean, that is the first thing that you have to take, because no one is going to, I just hate it when people are like, support my business. No, we don't support your business. We'll buy a service that is good and that our business needs. So it is your job to package your service and your product in a way that will be appealing to me as the one who's seated on the other side of the table buying it. So even as I was saying, that relationships are important, but relationships only open the door. At the end of the day, even the person that you know needs to be convinced that they are buying a service that is right for the firm, and they need to be sure that you will deliver that service excellently, and they will try to negotiate the best possible price for it, you know. So all of these things you need to take into account. I remember, you know, NLC is a small business. I was used to running a big business. So you already have a brand that you have developed over years. So at NLC, it was a newer business, although Nonku like Gobodo was a brand, but I still needed to build a brand around the business itself. And I'm really proud of the fact that we've been able, as a small business as we are, to get into big clients like Telkom, like the South African Reserve Bank, like Tiger Brands and all of that. Because the service itself, we spent months in planning our service offering. We spent time in packaging it so that it is in a form that we can sell to others. So then people have confidence that you know what you're talking about, and they have confidence that you have the resources in terms of the team that is around you to deliver on that service. All of those things are important if you want to win the big ticket item clients. But also as a small player, the danger is that they will try to squeeze you on price. And if you don't know the value of your services, we are going to be compromising on price and killing your own business. And you end up taking big assignments that are not profitable. So you have to weigh all of those things as well. So it's not just about winning the big ticket clients, but it's whether they will be profitable for you as well. You know, sure, there may be a question of, especially when you're starting out, where you compromise on price a little bit because you want to build a brand around yourself and show that you've worked in these big clients, because unfortunately, the first thing people want to know is, where have you done this before? So you need those experiences where you can demonstrate that you've done this successfully elsewhere. But even as you do that, even those decisions must be calculated, and also there must come a time when you're confident in your brand such that you stand your ground in terms of the price itself. But again, when you enter through the door and you end up being engaged and they take you as a service provider, delivery on this job is key, because one bad job that you do closes many other doors. So you've got to be sure that once you have that opportunity, you make sure that you plan everything right, you have the right resources to deliver on the job or the product, because you can imagine if maybe you developed a certain product and you didn't do proper research and the thing is a failure, they are going to suffer. Also, not just yourself. So that's why that's the development of the service or the product is key before you take it to market, because you then develop a bad reputation as you start, and everybody knows that you can't move forward with a bad reputation in business.
And as you say quite rightly, just one bad experience by a client, and it has a ripple effect because people talk. And unfortunately, very often that is the downfall of the smaller business when they aren't able to continue delivering the service. Now, Nonku, it's been an absolute pleasure having you as my guest tonight, and especially since it's my very first of the Empower Hour series. And I know that we have a few ladies that are online with us. So if you wouldn't mind, I'm going to open up the lines and just ask if there's any questions that they would like to pose. We still have a few minutes left. So I just want to ask any of the ladies, would you have any questions that you would like to ask our guest tonight? Nonku, I see we've got quite a few ladies online with us. Anybody have a question that you'd like to ask? Liesel, I see you've raised your hand.
Nonku, thank you so much for sharing with us. What I would like to know from you is, if you had the ability to travel back in time, what would you tell yourself at the age of 14 years old?
That life is tough. Life is tough because, I mean, when you're 14, you have no concept of the ups and downs of life, and you think everything is easy. And I've made mistakes in business by, being careless about some of the decisions that I've made. Like my first partnership failed because we had a fallout together with the lady that I was in partnership with. And when you look back at that failure, we were really great partners in terms of collaboration in the business. We had different talents and gifts that were good for our business. But we had a personality clash, which eventually led to the fallout that we had. And it was very traumatic experience to go through that, because then we had to split the business into two, and she took some clients and some furniture and some stuff, and she left, and I remained in the premises where we are. But I had to rebuild the business from scratch, because some of the clients were like, we don't want to deal with either of you, you know. And so from that experience, I just realized that going into business is tough. And it's not just about you are good at what you do. There are many other factors that are important in these things. Starting a business from scratch was very hard. But again, you learn from those experiences. And Gobodo Incorporated, which I established in 1996 with growing to 10 partners and 200 staff, came out of that bad experience, growing up from my experience. And realizing that immaturity is not going to help anybody in business. So there are lessons to be learned in life, and yes, we'll make mistakes, but what is important is to learn from the mistakes and grow from them.
Absolutely. It's, you know, those are the lessons learned in life, ladies, that we unfortunately go through some bad experiences, but you know, as long as you can turn them into, you know, good experiences, that you don't make the same mistakes again. Would anybody else like to ask a question to our guest, Nonku? Lydia Jolly, she would like to ask a question. Lydia, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Charlotte, and thank you, Nonku. It's a privilege to be part of Women of Stature. Charlotte, thank you for the job you do tirelessly. Nonku, I just have a question. If you then, as a small business, have been in a fallout with clients and messed up, if I might say, what would you recommend would be the steps to do amends and or now try recoup from that situation? Thank you very much.
I think first of all is not to be defensive, because when we have made a mistake, our first response as human beings is to be defensive. And that's the worst thing that you can do, because when you are defensive, the person who's listening to you is saying, first of all, you've learned nothing from this experience. Secondly, we are not willing to grow from this experience. Why should I trust you with more? You know, so you have to acknowledge the fact that you've messed up. You have to demonstrate that you understand what went wrong, and you've got to demonstrate how you are going to correct the situation and put things right in your business. And people understand that mistakes happen in business, but what they hate is someone who is not willing to acknowledge they are wrong, who is making excuses and being defensive. This is one thing I've learned as a business, in business, is that acknowledge the wrong. Even if you are a big business, you know, big businesses make big mistakes, and you always see these executives coming, being defensive, and that just infuriates their customers when they make excuses, instead of taking responsibility for the mistake and showing people how are you going to put amends in place to make sure that that doesn't happen again. But people do forgive, and so you must never think that it is the end just because you've made a mistake. The most important thing is really to learn from it.
Words of wisdom, Lydia. Hopefully that hasn't happened yet to you, but should it happen, that's the way to obviously go about mending the broken fence, as they say. Anybody else have a question? No questions, no further questions. So on that note, I'd like to again say tremendous thanks to Nonku for coming on and for being my first guest on Empower Hour, which is, as you can see, very focused on entrepreneurial development, helping entrepreneurs to navigate their way through the obstacles, jumping over the hurdles, jumping through the hoops, And Nonku has got years of experience having done that. And I think if there's anybody that can speak with absolute conviction that business isn't easy, but if you do it well, then you will obviously reap the benefits of it. So thank you so much, Nonku. I really appreciate your time. I know that you're a busy lady, and those of you who may not have but may have read a little bit about it on the news in the past week, Nonku was one of the spokespersons for the Clicks unfortunate circumstances they landed in as a result of an advert. And Nonku was in the thick of things as a non-executive on the Clicks board. So I think if there's anybody that is really skilled and well educated in business relationships, it certainly is you, Nonku. So thank you very much, and thank you to everybody that came on board and being part of the first of the series. And I wish you all a very pleasant evening and good night. Thank you, Nonku.
Thank you so much, Charlotte. Good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.